If you've just joined us, I would recommend creating a BDRC account. If you haven't done so already, it is completely free. That way you can follow along a little bit better. Of course, you don't have to. Instructions are up on the screen. I'm just giving it a minute or so to let other people join us. All right, so I think we will get started. Thank you for joining. So my name is Emily Jalbert. I'm the presenter today. My email is up top here, emily.jalbert@bd.com. Like I was saying, if you do not already have a BDRC account, I would recommend creating one. It's completely free, so you can follow along. So here are the instructions. You just log in at bdresearchcloud.com. If you use FlowJo portal to log into FlowJo, you use the exact same credentials. So same email and password, and that will also log you into BDRC. If you use some other way to access FlowJo, such as a serial number or dongle, or if you just don't use FlowJo, that's fine. Just then create an account at bdresearchcloud.com. All right, so moving forward, what is BDRC? So BD Research Cloud is an online ecosystem supporting flow cytometry studies. Within BDRC, you can upload and save cytometers. Those can be BD system cytometers that are completely customizable, or they could be custom cytometers. So you can have non-BD cytometers in here, is not a problem at all. You can create panels using reagents from the BD catalog or use custom reagents. So again, these would be non-BD reagents. You can include those as well. You can manage your antibody inventory within BD Research Cloud, and you can also view different spectras of fluors within the spectrum viewer. You can also create panels and workflows, such as experimental workflows, to keep track of who did what and when within your experiments in your lab. You can create FACS-DIVA software templates away from the cytometer. So you don't have to wait until the cytometer is available before you can start creating your DIVA template. You can do that in BDRC now, and then just upload that to DIVA when you're ready to start acquisition. And then also within BDRC, you can upload, organize, and share data. So you upload your data to BDRC, which makes it available from any computer. And then FlowJo has connectivity to BDRC to connect to those files, and you can start analysis from any computer. A few quick points. So BDRC is currently available to all US customers, but it's about to launch very soon in Europe. So that's exciting news. BDRC has regular releases that contain new features and functionality. So check back often and you'll see more and more tools available to you. And also feature development is user driven. So we do want to hear back from you. We want to know what you want to see in BDRC, what would be useful for you. So again, here's my email. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We are all ears. We want to know how we can help you with your research. Okay, so demo time. Let's see. So right now, I believe I'm sharing my entire screen with you. Before I jump into BD Research Cloud, just two quick notes. So if you go to flowjo.com, this webinar will be recorded and saved within the webinar. So if you go to learn and click webinar within flowjo.com, you can see these are most recent webinars, and then the recording will be found here in previously recorded webinars. So if you click here, you'll have access to this webinar, but then you can also see other previous webinars that we've done that might interest you. Also, if you go to FlowJo University and click on BD Research Cloud, then we have some short videos to remind you how to do some more common tasks. So how to upload a cytometer, how to create a panel. And so these are just a few short minutes. So you don't have to watch the whole webinar if you're looking to remember how to do certain things. So these are available on flowjo.com. All right, so now if we go to BD Research Cloud, like I mentioned, if you already use FlowJo with a portal ID, it's the same credentials to log in. If not, just press create account, enter your email, you'll receive an email with instructions on how to create an account. But if you have those credentials, just go ahead and click sign in. So the very first time you log in, usually you will have this pop up automatically for you. I had mine disabled. So you log in and you're presented with a video tour of BDRC to get you situated. The content of this pop-up video changes depending on which screen you're in. So if ever you're on a different page and you're kind of curious as to what the abilities of this pages are, if you have questions, just go ahead and click the little scroll item here and they'll bring you to a tutorial. And if you have any additional questions, the button next to it is tech support. So the link to the email for tech support. All right, so the first time you log in, usually you are taken to your individual organization. So this one gets automatically created the first time you log in, and that is for your personal use. You cannot invite other people. So if you're looking to have a collaborative organization, which would be my recommendation, the first step I would suggest to do is click on your name, go to create an organization, and then here you can see the different license types. So what you already have that's automatically created is an individual license. It's completely free. The available user seats is 1, so that's just for you and you alone. I would say go ahead and create a free organization that allows up to 10 people to join this. So if I click here, name this organization. So if you're a part of a lab, so this is my last name, I would call it the Jalbert Lab, or if you're part of a flow core, you would just name your core here, and then hit submit and create a shared organization. So up top here is the list of your different organizations. So you have your individual organization, and then once you've created an additional one, it'll show up in this drop-down list. So I have several organizations, but usually people would only have 1 or 2. So I'm going to select my lab. And you can see there's a little pin next to it. And so this is just to pin your preferred organization. So when you log in, which organization will show up as your default. So go ahead and pin the organization you want to have show up when you first log in. The main navigation tools are up here. So we have research, people, and resources. Let's start with people. In order to organize your organization. So when you create panels and workflows, it gets stored in the right place. So if I hit groups and projects under people, I will see that this organization called My Lab has 4 groups that I've created. Groups are defined in BDRC as people working together on 1 or more projects. So I'm monitoring the chat and I see that there's a question. After login, I was asked for a sign-up code, right? So it is not available yet in Europe. So that's why you're asked for a code right now in Poland. I would just wait a month or so for the commercial release in Europe, and then you won't be asked for that code anymore. The code is for beta testers at the moment. If you want to be a part of the beta testing group, feel free to email me and we can discuss that option. But yeah, right now, new accounts can only be created for US customers. Okay, back to this. So groups and projects. So within this organization, there's 4 groups, and groups are people working together on 1 or more projects. So if I click on this tuberculosis group, I can see the projects that are found within it. So I have project 1, 2, and 3. And then I can invite users to join this group. So once you've created a collaborative organization, just hit invite users and just type in the email address of the person you're looking to add and click invite users, and they'll receive an email that invites them directly to your organization, and they'll be able to join. So that was groups and projects, and then users. If you click here, this is the total list of users that are within my organization. I can edit their preferences here. So if I click, sorry, permissions, not preferences. So different people can have the ability to do or not do certain things. So you can dictate the permissions of the users within your group. So can they manage certain things? Can they manage the inventory of cytometers and so on? And so those are options for this user. And then also which groups does this user belong to? All right, so that was the housekeeping of how to kind of get organized within BDRC. Let's jump into the resources. So what you can do within a BDRC is to upload and save cytometers. So if we click on resources, cytometers, I have uploaded 5 cytometers to my organization. So here they are listed. If you wanted to add a cytometer to your shared organization, you would go ahead and click create. And there's 3 different ways to upload a cytometer. If you have a BD cytometer, the easiest would be to import a BD FACS-DIVA file. So from your cytometer, you would export a configuration file and just import it here. And then this way, everything matches up. Your channels are named perfectly. So you just give your cytometer a name, upload the DIVA file, assign it a location, and then you can decide if you want to make it publicly discoverable. So this option is, for example, if you're a core lab and you want to be able to share the cytometer with people outside of your organization. So if you check this box, this cytometer will become available to be seen by anyone within BDRC, and they can connect to it and design panels or create FACS-DIVA experiments from it. And so that's exactly this second option. So add a public cytometer. So if I'm a user of a flow core and my flow core has uploaded and shared their cytometers with me, I would just look it up here. So for example, I belong to the Fred Hutch team and I see they have uploaded 1 cytometer. I would click on it and I have the ability to link it to it. So now it will show up down here as public. So as a user, I cannot modify or change the configuration. I just have access to view it and build panels with it. So you don't have to worry about anyone messing up, what you input in there. So I'll go ahead and unlink here. And then lastly, the third way to create a cytometer would be to create a custom one. So this is if you have a non-BD instrument, you have the option to add different laser lines and add the detectors manually here, or alternatively, you can start with a base. For example, I want to start with, I don't know, a Fortessa 5 laser configuration, and it'll preload it, and then I can just go in and make modifications from it. If it's different from what I have, I can delete or add different detectors or lasers here. When I'm done, I just press add cytometer, and it'll make a quick calculation. Once I publish it, then it becomes available for other users within my organization to view this cytometer. There's also a status bar. So if my flow core sees that this cytometer is acting up and it's taken off the calendar, they can change the status of it to offline, and all the users that have the cytometer linked to it will receive notification that the cytometer is unavailable. So that was cytometers. Just monitoring the chat, making sure there's no questions. All right. Again, if you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat. I'll do my best to try and monitor it. So that was cytometers. Cytometers is great to upload and save it here because it's used in panel design. It's used in the FACS-DIVA creation that we're going to get to. So it's at the core function. So that would be one of the first things I recommend you do is just upload your cytometer configuration. Another tool we have is populations. So in BDRC, populations are really just a set of markers that define cell types that you would use for panel creation. So BDRC comes with default cell populations that you can choose to use or not. The nice part is that you can create custom populations. So if you're always identifying cells with the same set of marker, you can just create a population, identify those cell types. So for example, I'm going to call it EJ, I don't know, monocytes. So they're human. I can add markers from an existing population. So one of the BD defined ones. So let's say I'm going to say monocyte. So here it comes pre-populated. I'm going to say, go ahead and add those markers. I can add a link if that's relevant to me, add tags, internal tags for me to find it a little bit easier. So in this case, monocytes are going to be CD3 negative. I'm going to go in and change the density. I'm going to say they're CD14 high, CD16, maybe unknown, CD19 negative. I'm going to get rid of CD45. I don't use that, and delete. And if I want to add another one, let's say a CD8 marker, I'm going to assign it a density of negative. So I realize this isn't making much sense biologically, but just an example. And so when I'm done creating this population, let's go ahead and assign a density here. So they're negative for these markers and then have different densities of positivity for these 2 markers. I'm going to submit and save. So I named it EJ monocytes. Fantastic. So here it is created down there. It shows up and I'll pull up this information while I'm creating a panel. So I just want to show you how to create it. And then later we will use it during panel creation. Another resource is reagents. So these are the antibodies. When you'll be creating a panel within BDRC, it uses the BD catalog as a base to show you what's actually available for you to create a panel, because nothing's more frustrating than you're trying to create a panel and you pick a slot for a marker only to realize that's unavailable in that color. So we only use real reagents to help you build a panel. So you can use BD catalog reagents to build your panel, but you can also use custom reagents. So we'll use a combination of both the BD catalog and the custom reagents. The custom reagents are those that you create yourself that you have in your lab. So for example, if I have an in-house APC tetramer, or if I have a non-BD reagent, I would just add it here in custom reagent. I click create custom reagent, fill out the information, the asterisk file, fields are mandatory. You can skip the other ones if it's not relevant. And then whatever is in here, so it's a combination of custom and BD catalog reagents that you build your panel with. The other tab here is the spectrum viewer, which is nice to check out fluorochrome profiles. This is similar to the one that we have on the BD website, just to see different fluorochrome profiles. The nice part is that you can upload and see the exact configuration of your cytometers that you have access to see which is the best color for me. So you can compare and contrast different fluorochromes here. I won't spend too much time on this feature. And then lastly, my inventory. This is what is actually physically in your lab. You can manage, track lot numbers, quantity of vials left, and then you can also link this data to titration or any other fields. So this little link icon is a kind of a quick connect to any other resources within BDRC. So if I click on this link, so right now this one is blue telling me it's been populated. The other ones are gray, so it's empty. So if I click on this blue link, I can see, oh, it's been linked to this file. What is this file? It is a PDF. So let's check it out. Oh, okay. It's a titration information about the reagent that I have in my inventory. So I can have just quick access to know what's what. All right, so back to the reagents. The inventory feature is a premium feature. So when you create your free organization, you won't have access to this particular tab, my inventory. But if you upgrade to one of the other license type, you will get access to this. All right, the other two tabs here, experiments, is to create FACSDIVA experiments, and then a panel. So let's go ahead and jump to panel creation. So I'll leave the resources tab and go to workflows and panels. So here I have the option to either create a panel or an experimental workflow. So the experimental workflow would be like, let me just show you a quick example. So this is an experimental workflow that I've already created and almost completed. So I created these fields: thaw cells, count cells, resuspend the cells. And then as they get completed, I see who did it and when. There's a timestamp within these. So that's the first type of workflow that you have the option to create within BDRC. And these can be repeating ones. So these are experimental ones if you're in a lab, or if you're in a flow core, these could be repeating daily cleans or washes or QC. And so you walk in the morning, you could see who did what on what instrument and what is still remains to be done. So that was the experimental workflow. Let's go ahead and create a panel. So first step in creating a panel, you name it. I'm just going to give it today's date. And then project, what project do I want to associate it with? So it pre-fills it with the projects that I've already created. So I'm just going to put it under the COVID Grant 1 and click Start. So first thing it does, it asks me what instrument do I want to create my panel with, because different configurations will affect which fluorochromes are best. So I'm going to go ahead and select the Symphony A5 that's in my lab. If I want to double check the configuration of the cytometer I selected, I can click Expand Laser Details, and I can confirm, yes, indeed, this is the one that I want to build my panel with. And then I hit Complete Step. Next step is you add all your markers. So this is where the population resource that we were in comes into play. I have the option here when I'm creating a panel to either add markers one at a time, as one would, one at a time, CD3, CD4, CD8, if they were T cells, or instead of individual markers, I can look at populations. So the one that I created earlier was EJ monocytes. Whoops. Sorry, I am not spelling it right. Showing 2 of 3, load more. There it is, sorry. So EJ monocytes, add population, click. Here it is. It just preloads it with the antigen densities that I've predefined it. I'm going to go ahead and delete this default population. I can include a viability dye. I'm going to add an additional field here, a single marker, CD20. So in this case, CD19 and 20 are not of interest to me. I'm going to check the exclusion box to indicate that I'm creating a dump channel. So I'm going to put these two in the same channel. If I have clone preferences that I want to restrict it to, I have that option. And then, whoops. If I am restricted to certain reagent types, I can also restrict to those. It shows me I'm using 6 out of the 30 channels of the cytometer that I've chosen. So yeah, many options here to create a panel. So once I've identified the marker list, I'm going to continue. And the next step is to make the pairings. So on the left is the list of the antigens or the markers from the previous step. And if I click on a marker, it shows me what available colors it comes in. And as I click through the list, it shows me the fluorochrome profile and how it would look on my exact cytometer based on its configuration. So if I click pair, it becomes static, and now this this profile stays, it remains. So as I add more fluors to it, I get to see the interaction between the fluors and say, oh, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea to put these two in the different channels? So right now I'm just gonna make random choices. So as I make pairings, I can see that BUV 496 I already chose for CD8. So it becomes hashed down here and lets me know that it's already been paired. So I shouldn't select it. But if I unpair the CD8 or you know, it'll become available for me to choose. So showing that it was an option for me, but it was hashed. So let's go ahead and repair these. If I don't want to see the paired ones, I'm like, just get them out of the way. It would show me that it was available if I want to make swaps, but if I'm uninterested, just hide them. You can sort these lists. So the antigen name, you can sort by either the name, the density, and this can be toggled high or low, and then or fluorochrome availability. So right now it's showing me that the viability dye comes in the fewest colors, and then these will come in the most available colors. So that there's different options to see what's available to you. And same thing with the fluors, these two can be sorted either by name, brightness, laser. And then you can also use the search field. So here I want to, you know, I already know I want it to be APC or something like that. You can restrict the list for easier finding. So let's go ahead and just make some random assignments here. Let's make it a blue. So here the spectrum, if you're not used to it, you have to click on the different laser lines to see what it looks like. If you're on a laser line, the filled curve shows you a primary emission from that laser, and then the dashed curves are showing you spillover coming from a different laser. So you can see the BB700, CD14, you will have some spillover coming into these channels that's originally coming from this one, right? So the spectrum viewer is really handy to kind of anticipate what kind of interactions will happen based on your choices, and you can make switches based on those. So I just made a random panel that doesn't make much sense biologically or with the fluorochromes, but you get the idea. So once I'm happy with all of this, I can scroll back. I can make it even bigger. I can expand it if I want to. But let's go on to the next step. All right, so now I get to decide what test size, or which, if it comes in more than one clone, which one I want to select for my final panel. So this shows you, with the drop down, it shows you the different options of CD3 BUV 737 that's available to you. So you can click through, there's additional links. You can click learn more, it'll bring you to the BD page, or you can expand this graph if it's too small. So this is where you make your choices of variants. So you continue these choices until the next step. This is where you're finalizing your shopping list. So at this point, you've completed your panel, you've selected the marker and fluorochrome pairings. You've decided which clones, which test sizes. And now if you already have some of these in your lab and you don't want to reorder them, you can delete them from this list, because now you're just creating the shopping list. So if you remove them, they end up at the bottom. If you accidentally remove them, you can add them back. And then click finalize. So now you have the option to purchase your reagent list, and you can also download or email. So for example, if you want to buy these reagents, click add to cart. It adds them to the BD cart. And here they are. Right now, I'm not logged into BD, so I would proceed to check out and log into this website. If your institution does not allow purchasing through BD website, that is not a problem. You can email or download this list. You can download the panel summary, which includes everything, or just the shopping list, which is the items minus the ones you've removed. So then you can email this shopping list to your purchasing person in your lab, or if it's a large order or for any other reason, if you want to speak to one of the BD reps, you can request a quote. They will receive a list of these items and they'll get in contact with you for those items. So that was panel creation. Once this step is done, your panel that you've just created will show up in the panel section. So if we come back to resources and go to panels, the one I just created today is now here. It shows all the selections I've made based on the cytometer configuration. If I have access to the inventory features, I can add these. So once I've placed the order and the reagents have arrived in my lab, I can go ahead and add to the inventory, keep track of vials that way. I can reorder anything from this panel if I've run out. And then the cytometer, the full cytometer configuration of the that I used for that particular panel. And if I want to reuse this panel to make another one and just make a slight modification, I can press this button up here, say, okay, use this panel as a base, but now I want to create a new one. And it'll ask you a couple of questions. First, are we staying on the same cytometer, or are we changing it to something else? Do you want to preserve the clones? Do you need an exact match, or no, you don't care about the clones, you just care about the pairings? Or no, I don't really care about the pairings, I just want to use this exact marker list, but I'm going to assign new fluorochromes to them. So there's different options that you can do with that. Checking the chat, making sure there's no questions. So that was it for panel creation. So in the panel resources of which we're at, it shows the custom panels that you've created or that anyone in your organization has created. There's ways to search and filter to find specific panels that you're looking for. And we also have some preloaded BD defined panels. So these are panels that have been optimized by BD for a certain list of markers. So you can choose to select that and either order the reagents straight up from a pre-made panel and hit the road running, or you can use it as a base and just tweak one or two channels to fit your needs. All right, so that was panels. Now let's jump into experiments. So you've ordered your reagents, you've stained your cells, now you're ready to acquire, or not even prior, while you're staining your cells, you're like, let's get a jump on it and create my FACS-DIVA experiment during incubation. This is especially useful if you're not physically close to the cytometer. If it's in another building or whatnot, you just want to create it on BDRC, get a jump start. So within the experiments resource, you would go ahead and hit create. So let's name that experiment again. Okay, project, assign it to the relevant project so it gets stored in the right spot. Which cytometer am I using? Let's use the A5 because that's what I made my panel with. The configuration, fantastic. The FACS-DIVA version, if I had stored this information, the FACS-DIVA software, when I was saving the cytometer, it would pre-fill, but because I left it blank, then I have to select at this point. And then depending if you have a plate loader or not, you can choose to start there. So add experiment. And so you'll see there's different tabs for the different steps of experiment creation. So first is select the plate size. Go ahead and select the 96 well U bottom. And in this step, I'm defining the specimens. So for myself, I had 10 specimens and 3 conditions each. My preferred way is to hit the autofill selected. So all I did was I highlighted some wells. Whoops. And then, oops, sorry, I hit some extra ones there unintentionally. All right, so I've got a 10 by 3. So I'm going to hit autofill selected. And my pattern is going vertical for 3 wells per specimen. And I want my specimens to start with the prefix PID, so patient ID, autofill. So now it's selected, 3 down for each autofill. I can click on these to change the name. I can delete them if I, chose to, or I can manually add some more. Let's say PID underscore 009 is actually down there. So I'm going to add it and it adds it. So this is just the specimen first step. If I hit continue, then it brings me, I was in plate, now I'm in labels. So this is the fun part where if I've created a panel in BDRC, I don't have to now label everything as I once had to. I'm going to go ahead and select all the wells and then select the panel that I want to choose. So this is the one I just created this morning. I'm going to select it and say apply panel. So now it pre-fills the channels, the correct channels with the panel labels. I can choose to hide the unused parameters, right? To only see what's relevant to me. So that was the labels tab. There's different options that you can also include the clone if you want, change the separator. So instead of a space, you can add dashes, or it's customizable in that fashion. So I'm going to continue on to the next step, keywords. So here we definitely recommend keywords and proper labeling of your files ahead of time prior to the acquisition. What that does is that embeds all the information within the FCS file. So after transfer, it's clear as to what this data actually is. So our hope is that with BDRC, people will get better about annotating their files. And hopefully this makes it easier. So keyword, if I wanted to add, the age of this person, the stimulation condition, and then maybe the time that it was added on. And then there's different ways to add information to this. If I right click, I can paste into an entire column. I can paste keywords. So my favorite way is if I had a spreadsheet of this information, hopefully already created, right? That I'm getting this information. So age, let's say they're 12, 13, 14. I'm just making stuff up here. And then the stim was a PHA stim or a no stim. You get the picture. What's nice is I can just copy and paste if I had an existing one and then just paste it in a relevant way. You can copy and paste. In Diva, I believe you have to do it one field at a time, which is a bit of a pain, but in BDRC, you can just copy and paste large amounts of data all at once, which is hopefully a time saver. So that was keywords. And then the next step is to add plots. So if you already know you want to see certain plots, the most common ones are up here under checkboxes, or you can have an N by N to see all the colors, or if you want to add any custom ones, you can just come here and it pre-fills it with your panel information. So let's do a CD8 by CD19, add it here. You can edit these at any time, change what they are. And that is the BD experiment creator. Once you're finished, all you have to do is click export experiment and it generates a zip file. That zip file contains an XML that's what you upload to Diva. So once you're on Diva, you just go to file, import, select this file, and all this information will get uploaded with one click ahead of time. So that's real nice. Any questions there? Just checking the chat. All right, I don't see any questions. So we went through panels, went through experiments. So the only tab that we haven't checked out yet is File Explorer. So whoops, let's go ahead and refresh this. So once you are in the File Explorer, this is where you can see all your different groups and project files and where your data actually gets stored. So within titrations, for example, I have project files. And then this, you can say I have workspaces in here, I have FCS files, everything's organized by project, so easily findable. You can also switch to a searchable list. So if you're looking for something specific, you can use keywords, look into specific projects or who uploaded it. include, just my files, or if you accidentally deleted something. So it makes it really easy to find what you're looking for. The last functionality I'd like to go through is connectivity to FlowJo. So I'm going to go ahead and select FlowJo down here. Get it started. So I have a portal account that I'm going to use my FlowJo port. Whoops, not create, sorry. Use a portal account. Put in my credentials. All right, so now I am connected. In order for FlowJo to connect to BD Research Cloud, you do not have to have a portal account. You can still connect to BDRC if you have a serial number or if a dongle. That is not a problem at all. The links to BDRC, there are several within FlowJo. So here, there's the link, open a browser for the BD Research Cloud site. So if I just click here, it just automatically brings you to the BD Research Cloud website. Other places it connects. It's rather large, but that's okay. You can add samples to this file. So add sample from BD Research Cloud. So let's say you're done acquisition on Diva and you've uploaded your files to BDRC. I can then go fetch them from BDRC. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to make it, there you go, a reasonable file size. Let's go back here. Okay, here we are. So in FlowJo, after pressing, dear Lord, sorry, how do I get it to not be full screen? All right, here we are. So in FlowJo, once I said add file, it connects to BDRC and I get this little window that shows up. The first thing up here is to select the proper org where my data is stored. So this is the organization called My Lab, and then it shows me all the projects. So I select one of the projects and then I select the files that I want to analyze. So so these are the files that are stored within BDRC. And if I click add, they get added to my FlowJo workspace and I can then proceed with analysis. Once I've done the analysis, I can then go to file, save as, and I'm going to save this workspace to BDRC. And so same thing, it'll ask me, where do I want to save it? What project? I would just give it a name and save it there. And now this workspace is available to anyone that has access, that's in my organization. I can choose to lock it if I don't want anyone to touch it. So yeah, it's a really great way to share data without having to use external Dropboxes. And it stays organized within your labs, and you can decide who has access to what, right? So you can place it in one group, and then only the people that are in that group have access to the data. And if you're collaborating with someone else that's in another group, they only have access to data that are the projects within within that file. So I said a question. This integration Diva to Chorus. So that is in the works. It does not currently work for Fax Chorus. Right now it is only for Fax Diva, but yes, there's definitely been interest that's been mentioned for Chorus, and we are building that out. Unknown timeline though. Want to make sure I covered everything. So let's go back to BD Research Cloud over here. But I think that's pretty much it for now, that you can create experimental workflows and panels. You can upload and save your data. So there's different options here for the individual data. Once you're in the project files, you can delete it, download it, email it, share it. If you have the upgraded license type, you can share with people that are outside of your organization as well. You can lock it. Or create links to it for easy access, right? So if this titration was relevant to a particular reagent, I can link it to that reagent in the inventory. And so if people are here and they want to know, oh, what's the titration looking like? That was that link that I showed. Users and groups. And so yes, every user has their own permissions. I have my own permissions and preferences, so notifications and settings I can set. So do I want to get notified for when these things happen? And also, what are my permissions if ever I leave an organization and not all is lost, we can transfer ownership from one person to another. That's about it. I'm happy to take any questions at this point. If you want me to go over any other features, I'm happy to provide. But like I said, BDRC has regular releases. Our other one is scheduled for, I believe, the end of March, maybe early April. You're going to see some new features there, some improvements, and we really want to hear back from you. So give it a whirl, see what you like and what you would, love to see get added to it. So thank you very much for your time. I'll stick around if there's any questions. If not, then feel free to log in and play around and reach out by email if you have any other questions. I'll put my email back up on the so yeah, this one. So emily.jalbert@bd.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day.